Nana Balaba Kirivaradari Yasodanandana Bradajana Ranjana Tira Vanachari Jamuna Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Shiva Paramaha Shiva Vraj Gachaya Awesome Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Namacharya Haridas Thakur Jai Prem Sugho Sri Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Shvasti Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopika Shama Kunda Radha Kutta Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadap Ki Jai Gang Jamuna Tulasi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Samavetta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Go Premanandi All glories to the Sam of the devotees, all glories to the Sam of the devotees, all glories to the Sam of the devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Guranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachadane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadesh Tarane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasudi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 10, chapter 47, verse 58. Etap param tanu prato bhuvi gopa vadvo Govinda eva nikila mani ruda bhava Vanshanti yad bhava bhiyo munayo vayamsha Kim Brahma Janma Bir Anantakata Rasasya Eta, these women, param, alone, kanu, their bodies, mrita, maintained successfully, bhuvi, on the earth, gopa vadva, young cowherd women, govinde, for Lord Krishna, eva, exclusively, nikila, of all, atmani, soul, ruda, perfected, bhava, ecstatic loving attraction, vanchanti, they desire, yat, which, bhava, material existence, bhiya, those who are afraid of, munaya, sages, vayam, we, also, kim, what use, Brahma, as a Brahmana or as Lord Brahma, janmabhi, with births, ananta, of the unlimited Lord, kata, for the topics, rasasya, for one who has a taste. Translation, Uddhava sang, among all persons on earth, these cowherd women alone have actually perfected their embodied lives, for they have achieved the perfection of unalloyed love for Lord Govinda. Their pure love is hankered after by those who fear material existence, by great sages, and by ourselves as well. For one who has tasted the narrations of the infinite Lord, what is the use of taking birth as a high-class Brahmana or even as Lord Brahma himself? Purport, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti explains here the term Brahma Janmabhi, Brahminical births, refers to the threefold birth by seminal parenthood, sacred thread initiation, and sacrificial initiation. These cannot compare to pure Krishna consciousness. In fact, Uddhava, who spoke this verse, took birth as a pure Brahmana, but he deprecates his position in comparison to that of the exalted Gopis. Translation, among all persons on earth, these cowherd women alone have actually perfected their embodied lives, for they have achieved the perfection of unalloyed love for Lord Govinda. Their pure love is hankered after by those who fear material existence, by great sages, and by ourselves as well. For one who has tasted the narrations of the infinite Lord, what is the use of taking birth as a high-class Brahman or even as Lord Brahma himself? So here, Uddhava is directly praising the Gopis as the highest persons. So in the first line, he talks about them as, of course, Gopa Vadva, which can mean, women, cowherd women, but literally are from the usual usage, it means wives of cowherd men. Yeah, married women, Vadva. And also, Tanubrutaha, literally simply means those who maintain a body, which means anybody in the material world. So anyone who has a body. But in this case, that means they are supreme among those persons who have attained human bodies on earth. This, of course, is relatively speaking, since we understand that the Gopis are actually eternally and they have spiritual bodies. To talk about them having regular bodies like material persons is actually not proper. But in normal conversation, even persons like Uddhava will speak in this way, just as the people of Vrindavan often speak of themselves as conditioned souls. So here also it says, among all those who have attained bodies in the material world, the Gopis are the best. Of course, we can also take this in a spiritual way and understand that it could refer to those who have spiritual bodies. Among those who have appeared on earth with their spiritual bodies, the Gopis are the best. So in other words, the best among the devotees, because only devotees get spiritual bodies. So in this way, praising the Gopis as having the highest rasa, etc. Or, of course, we take the general idea that the Gopis are simply the best persons in the material world. In either case, it is praise for the Gopis. This term Gopavadva may be also used to defend the idea that the Gopis were all married persons, and therefore this was Parakiya. And why they are the highest is because they have Ruddha Bhava, which technically, if we take it literally in its most specialized sense, means a very high aspect of Mahabhava. Ruddha is one stage within Mahabhava. So they've attained this very high stage of ecstasy in relation to Krishna, who is the soul of all persons, essence of all persons. So, in other words, the Gopis again are the highest devotees because they've attained the highest type of relationship with Krishna and Mahabhava, and they have the most intense relationship with him. So this is all true. How does Uddhava know this? Because he's just witnessed it. He's seen Radha talking to the bee. And then he's seen the Gopis express themselves, and he's observed them. He observed them also for many months, as he stayed in Vrindavan and heard the different pastimes of Krishna in the various forests. So he had ample opportunity to observe everyone. And of all the persons, he concluded the Gopis are the highest of all. Such that, he says, even those who fear material existence, which generally means people who want liberation, great sages, etc., and even us, himself, Uddhava says, even I desire this. Such Ruddha Bhava. And what is the use of taking birth as Brahma or anyone else for one who has attained a taste for just the topics of Krishna, hearing and discussing the topics of Krishna? So and this is, of course, a general glorification of the process of bhakti and hearing about Krishna, etc. But he mentions that even I desire this, and even great sages desire this. So it is obvious that Uddhava cannot become a gopi or whatever like that and attain the same experience. But it's a praise of that intensity of love that they have, the complete devotion to the Lord. And thus, he says, even the great sages who fear material existence, and he himself, desire such love because they see it's the highest, it's most intense. While at the same time, he also realizes his own position in his own body, etc. So it's not that he's trying to replace his particular identity, but rather he admires the high position of the Gopis. So, the Gopis are among the people of Vrindavan, all who have very, very intense relationships with Krishna. So we have some servants, some friends, like Sridama or Sudama. Then we have the parents and the elders, like Nanda and Yasoda. And then finally, the Gopis. So they're all very special. Not just the Gopis, but everyone in Vrindavan is special, and they are distinguished from the people in Mathura, and particularly the Yadus, that all of them have higher, more intense relationship with Krishna because they don't see him as Supreme Lord at all. That creates a very special nature. For that reason, it is explained in the Nectar Devotion that Krishna is Purna in Dwarka, Purnatara in Mathura, and Purnatama in Vrindavan. So that means he's most perfect in Vrindavan. He manifests relationships to the highest degree in all rasas in Vrindavan. Whereas in Dwarka it is only Purna, so it's lesser, and Mathura also lesser. And the reason is that in Vrindavan the relationships reach a very intense degree, no matter what they are, what type of relationship, because they don't see Krishna as Supreme Lord, and they all see Krishna as a cowherd boy. So the seeing Krishna as Supreme Lord acts as an obstruction to the intensity of the relationship. And therefore, where that is not present, the relationship becomes very, very strong. So that creates a superiority of Krishna in Vrindavan and the people in Vrindavan to all the others in other places. But we see that Uddhava belongs to the other group. He has got this Aishwarya Bhava. He understands Krishna Supreme Lord. He's a Vrishni or Yadu related to them. So his consciousness is a little bit different. But he can, among all the Yadus, he can recognize the greatness of the love of the people of Vrindavan. He can appreciate it very nicely. Right? He can relish it, as we say here. And therefore, he's in a very, very special position. Other persons did not come to Vrindavan because they were not capable of relishing in a proper way. Vasudeva and Devaki did not come. But Uddhava was sent by Krishna because he could appreciate very nicely the nature of the people of Vrindavan. So that is expressed here where it says, we also desire, I desire this type of high exalted relationship. To indicate that it is very, very exalted and very, very rare. So in the last verse he mentions about Brahma. So Brahma also appreciates the Supreme Lord, and we see that in the stealing the cowherd boys. After that he offers prayers. He also aspires for being a blade of grass in Vrindavan, etc. At the same time, he does not insist, I want to stay in Vrindavan. He goes back to Brahmaloka again after offering his prayers. Because he's got a different body. It's not suitable for Vrindavan. He's not qualified. He can appreciate, but he's not qualified. So Uddhava was in a higher category in one sense because he has a spiritual body and he can appreciate the love of the Gopis and others to a very high degree because he can identify completely with Krishna's mood in Vrindavan. His praise, we can say, is even more intimate and more, we can say, intense because he can realize the greatness of the Gopis' love for Krishna. So, though there are in Vrindavan many, many different relationships, and all of them are very intimate, still there are degrees of intensity, and they will also recognize the different intensities of the different types of love, even though they're in a different, there may be in Sakya Rasa, but they can understand the relationship of the Gopis to Krishna. And they can also understand its exalted nature. Nevertheless, they don't want to change their particular positions or their bodies. They have their particular relationship with the Lord. So, in these relationships, they feel perfection. Here, Uddhava says the Gopis have got the highest perfection, but all of these different people in Vrindavan feel perfection also.
So each gets glorified. So the cowherd boys are glorified with Sakya rasa. And this is glorified as the best rasa. Why? Because it's equal. No one's superior, no one inferior. They're equal. Friends are equal. So in that sense, most intimate because of equality. Similar to Krishna, similar form, similar age, similar dress, similar ornaments, similar activities, joking together, fighting together, etc. So in that sense, it's superior to everything else because of equality. Other relationships like Vatsalya, unequal. Elders are superior, Krishna is smaller, inferior. Or Dasi, the opposite. Krishna is superior and the servant is inferior. So there's inequality there. But in Sakya, very, very equal. So therefore it gets praised as being very, very high. And some persons prefer that. So these are the cowherd boys. And even the Gopis, they start praising the cowherd boys. They say, oh, look, the cowherd boys can play with Krishna, and nobody can criticize them. They're the best. We can only associate with Krishna secretly, but they can publicly just associate with Krishna very freely. They're the best of all. So they get great praise from all people in Vrindavan because of their intimate association. So they don't desire any other relationship, even though many of these cowherd boys, they're aware of the relationship of Krishna with the Gopis, etc. But they have their own position in Sakya Rasa, so they don't want to change that at all. And we have the superiors in Vatsalya Rasa. Sukadeva Goswami, he praises this. The love of Mother Yasoda as being the highest, most intense in the first 15 chapters of the 10th canto. So apart from the Gopis, yes, in one sense, very, very high. So normally, the rasas are ranked. We get Dasya and then Sakya, then Vatsalya, and then Madhurya, the highest. So it's put even higher than Sakya because of the intensity. And it is said that Mother Yasoda constantly experiences raga, is a great, great attachment for Krishna, which does not manifest so much in the cowherd boy, sometimes, but not so much, but constantly Yasoda's in raga. So Vatsalya Rasa gets praised then because it is so intense. And then finally, of course, Madhurya Rasa is the most intense of all. And there's Anuraga and Mahabhava, etc. And this Rudabhava, very, very intense form. So this gets the most praise of all. But each gets praised in a particular place in the Bhagavatam as being very, very wonderful and high. So there is no desire for anyone to change their particular position. They're all satisfied with their particular type of rasa, even though it may not be so intense as the other rasa. So they all cooperate in harmony in Vrindavan, and there's no competition or envy of others' positions in other rasas, etc. So Uddhava, he can praise and aspire in one sense for such an intense relationship as the Gopis. At the same time, he never aspires to become a Gopi or take the place of the Gopis at all, because he has his own position and it's very, very satisfying. So in this way, though there is degrees of prema, and therefore there is difference, there is no rivalry and envy and competition among the different persons there for Krishna. And everything operates in complete harmony there in the spiritual relationships.
You know, in Vatsalya, Madhurya Rasa, the love and separation exists. Similarly, the same thing should be existing in other rasas like mother and son, like Vasudeva and Devaki. They were without Krishna for many years. The intensity of separation is more in the Madhurya than others, whereas the mother and baby should be always together.
Yeah, it is quite intense, the relationship between the mother and the child, and separation produces great pain. So Mother Yasoda is described in separation when Krishna goes to Mathura, and she is in great pain. Of course, the gopis get the most, but Mother Yasoda also in great pain, more than, let's say, the Sakas. And in fact, I said the Sakas, in one sense, they didn't feel the separation so much because internally Krishna appeared and they were satisfied with that, more or less. And they didn't even go to Kurukshetra to see Krishna. They stayed in Vrindavan. And so the gopis and the elders went, but cowherd boys didn't go. So they were more or less satisfied and they didn't get such distress in separation as the others. So Vatsalya, very intense also. And for that reason, we can say Krishna had to stay in Mathura for some time because of Vasudeva and Devaki, and they had been separated for 12 years from Krishna. So he had to satisfy them to some degree also.
Krishna seems to have spent a lot of time, much more time than in Vrindavan. He spent much more time in Dwaraka and Mathura with the queens of Vrindavan. But we find that in the heart of heart, he was most intimately connected with the Gopis of Vrindavan, though while being in other places like Mathura, Vrindavan. In a material point of view, we see that this is very disheartening. I am living with someone, but I am most intimately connected with someone else in a far-off place. How to get that money?
Well, that's the external appearance. And as I said, Vishnu Chakravarti explains that actually Krishna did return after a few months, and therefore in another form he was with the people of Vrindavan and they were going on with their pastimes, though it was uppercut. So, but it was real. So they were both, he was directly there with the Brajavasis, etc. So therefore that's how he explains that there was no long separation. He actually fulfilled his promise and he came back. And of course also then, if we don't accept that, then we can also say that actually Krishna is eternally in the spiritual world anyway with his associates, and they're also, so that it's like, in one there's long separation, but it's simultaneously he's in the spiritual world, and Goloka, he's with them.
When Uddhava prays that he wants to be a blade of grass so that he can give pleasure to the gopis who can walk on the soft grass, it shows an amazing humility, Maharaj, which is a very high consciousness, either comparable or little higher than gopis also, to be a blade of grass under the gopis. It's an amazing quality.
Well, that's the nature of bhakti itself. Humility is that there, and of course, the higher the position is of a person there, the greater they are, then the devotee also feels the lower they are in relation to that.
With regard to the bee, Maharaj, you made a mention about the bee in the class today, but is it that the bee himself is a Krishna? Is bee Krishna himself? There
was a mention that some commentators say the bee was actually Krishna, but it's not said that our acharyas support that, but I said some people say like that.
Here you see Uddhava was glorifying gopis because of their intensity of their love, and even although he heard about Krishna, but he doesn't want that relationship with Krishna. But in the case of we see Narada and Shiva, even when they heard about the Rasalila, they also desired to participate in Rasalila.
Well, in a very general way, just as we say, Lakshmi also desires, but she cannot do so, whatever, and she never changes her position. So definitely they recognize the highest joy is available in the Rasalila or those types of pastimes, but when practically speaking, they also don't want to change their bodies. They have their particular forms, so they stay in those forms.
Another question is like this. Even gopis are praising to these gopas because of their freely mixing with Krishna. Okay, but they also might feel that because as they have a spiritual body, and as this is the nature of the spiritual body, that they can change their body at any time. Okay, so they also can take the form of gopa sometime, and play with Krishna also.
Could. It's possible, but in general, they have what's called the sthāyi bhava. And the sthāyi bhava means the permanent bhava. which may be Sakya or Dasya or Vatsalya, Madhurya, etc. Or it could be a mixture of them also. But that is what we call sthai. So they have something which is permanent, and therefore they would stay with that particular rasa and the form suitable for that rasa, rather than change. So there are other persons, on the other hand, who may not have a fixed sthai bhava. In Shanta rasa, it's called, there's a form of rati, which is svacha rati, I think it's called, and it's not fixed in any particular rasa. So they could change their bodies at will if they wanted to. One day be gopi, one day be cowherd boy, one day like that, something like that. Though maybe they don't exist in Goloka, but only in Vaikuntha or whatever. But they have temporary, but it's all very temporary. So therefore it's not so intense also, because it's very, very temporary and switching.
But we see in the case of Gopis, they're feeling that, that we cannot mix so often to Krishna, like public you're meeting with Krishna. So they might feel that, okay, let us also change our body and become a Gopas, and we can deal Krishna very intimately.
Yeah. Well, though we can say it's possible, because of their particular identity as Gopis in the Leela, that does not occur. Let's say Yoga Maya prevents them from saying, okay, we have all power, we can do anything, take any form we want to. Then they would realize that they have, eternal spiritual bodies with all powers, etc. But are not conscious of that.
But they have their sthaya bhava as well. They are fixed in their own rasa.
Yeah.
Yeah. But still, how can then glorify other rasas then? Because here they are glorifying.
Well, because they appreciate that the cowherd boys, they see the cowherd boys playing with Krishna, so therefore they appreciate that. We cannot do like that. The cowherd boys very easily associate with Krishna and play with him. We cannot do so. So they appreciate. So they appreciate all the other rasas also. And the other rasas, people in the other rasas, they appreciate Madhurya rasa also.
In the material world, we see that normally when we see something highest, we desire to have that same kind, okay, I like to have that because that is highest. But in this place it doesn't happen, because they are fixed in their own rasa, they appreciate, only appreciation, that's all.
Yeah, there's no envy there. They are satisfied with their particular identity and particular relationship with the Lord, and it is fully satisfying to them.